Well, this says so much, the side-by-side comparison. That's Congressman George Santos after he was basically, well, thrown out of the House of Representatives. At that point, he wasn't indicted, nothing like that. And on the right, you see the indicted senator at the time, Robert Menendez, the Democrat of New Jersey, just being a senator. Nobody seemed to have a problem with it. George Santos ultimately went to prison. Some financial irregularities, that kind of thing, and he was sentenced to 7 years in jail. The Fed started snooping around, and I think they got carried away. However, do we call it a miracle? Maybe it is. President Trump commuted his sentence. It's done. George has been in solitary confinement for long stretches of time, and by all accounts, he has been horribly mistreated. Therefore, I just signed a commutation releasing George Santos from prison immediately. Good luck, George. Have a great life, and his great life is well underway. He just got out of prison, what was it, Friday, Saturday, and now he's on our show. Welcome, Congressman Santos, and how does it feel?
Greg, thank you for having me. It's surreal. It's a sense of shock and a sense of, wait, is this really happening? I wake up in the middle of the night, 3 a.m. for the last 3 nights, just because that was the same time that in prison they would do a check and they would come around with the flashlights, making sure we were in our beds. And my body is accustomed to that interruption. And I wake up and I'm, oh my God, I'm home. Same nightmare of being in the SHU and segregation has been following me now for the last week or so, even before I came home. So it's just been one very interesting journey. I mean, it's humbling. I mean, God above all, as everybody knows, I've made that very clear. But President Trump's mercy and his willingness to give people like me and so many others a second chance is just something that I didn't know. I didn't know how to feel when I spoke to the president on Saturday, other than just stutter and thank him for his kindness, for his humanity that he exudes. And I wish people would look at this man for who he actually is and stop doing what they do to him in the media. This is an amazing human being who has the ability to forgive people and give them second chances. It's Greg, it's tough.
It's amazing. And look, I'm very happy for you. I've been on your side throughout all this. Do me a favor, though. What is it like in prison? You show up to prison. You're an ex-congressman. Did you feel like you had a target on your back? And what did you do all day long in jail?
You know, I'll start off by the day I arrived in prison. They shut down the entire prison. They took away recreation from the inmates in the camp and kept them indoors because they were so terrified. But at the same time, they put a target on my back, sort of say, because I interrupted their day-to-day operations. They don't do this for any other inmate, but they did that. They moved people from beds to put me in a bed, I guess, a good position, not that it matters. It was just chaotic. The prison administration didn't help themselves. Let's start there. Second of all, building a routine is necessary. And let's start with day 2 in prison. Before I even had gone through medical clearance or anything, the CO in charge of the kitchen, I approached him and said, I want in. Can I please join? He's like, you're in. And I just started right away. And I was in the kitchen. And that's how I learned a lot of these awful things happening in prison. But I had my kitchen routine from 7 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. I walked the track for 25 laps, would equate it to 5 miles every day. And I read a lot of books. I got into historical fiction, something I didn't even know I enjoyed. And now I tend to know everything about Genghis Khan, the Mongol dynasty of the early, 1200s. So very, very interesting time in my life. And it also gave me a lot of reflection to get back in touch with my religious side and really take in God into my body and Jesus. And it's just a really strange event, circumstance. And then I get put in solitary confinement, and that all goes to hell. And it gets really bad from there on, Greg.
All right, a couple of quick things. Then I want to go to the deeper things. Number one, how was the food that you were making? You were helped making it, but how was it?
Well, I mean, let's start with I was serving in certain occasions chicken patty sandwiches that were expired over a year ago, tortilla chips for the taco salads that were expired in August, and we were still they were still serving it. The last day I left, my taco salad had tortilla chips that expired in August of 25. You find canned goods expired as far back as 2023. And the answer of the administration is, oh, the best buy date is suggestive. You really have to open it and see for yourself. I mean, oh, it's been frozen, so it keeps well. This is really the symptom of a very corrupt warden that is inefficient at her job. She's derelict in duty. And this is how she's deploying taxpayer dollars. Meanwhile, there's no money for, decent food, hygiene, sanitary conditions, or even doing basic duct work on the central heating. But she put in a multi-$1,000 85-inch QLED Samsung television in her private office. So you see how the preference here works. And this is just who it is. I mean, Joe Biden's portrait still hangs in some of the walls in the prison. And you take that and you do what you want with that, Greg.
How about that? Yeah. All right. If you don't mind, I do want to get to the eve of your release. Let me ask you this. What do you say to those people out there? Well, you're in prison. It shouldn't be that nice. I actually think it should be humane. Sounds like it was subhumane. But how do you answer those folks?
Prison, if you think prison shouldn't be nice, I concur, but it shouldn't be degrading. It should be an environment where you can rehabilitate people. If you're not creating an environment with at least decent nutrition, decent sanitary conditions, and not allowing things like listeria and ringworms to run rampant like they do in this prison, or giving people the ability to have some level of dignity and programs so that they can find a job when they leave and be reintegrated into their communities. And unfortunately, in this prison, none of that happens. In this prison, you're making prisoners angrier. That's why recidivism is at an all-time high in America. And compared to every other first world country, we have the largest percentage of incarcerated population. Approximately 250,000 Americans are in federal custody today, and most of them, about a third of them, are due to recidivism because we make them angrier. We turn them into more dangerous criminals because of how we put them through the prison process. This is not how prison should be. Prison should reform people. It should be a place for people to reflect, reform, and readapt to society. Unfortunately, that's not what's taking place at FCI Ferreton under the care of Warden Kelly.
You were facing, I think, a pretty steep fine, restitution, $373,000. You don't have to make that anymore, right, with the commutation?
Greg, a lot of people talk about this. I've been asked this question. As the law states today, I do not. And I want to make this very clear because a lot of people have murkied the water. And I just want to, this isn't me making excuses. I just want to educate people. 85% of this restitution that was demanded on me was the Merrick Garland DOJ weaponizing itself against me to enhance the number, to make it look like it was a much bigger deal than a mere under six-figure FEC violation that every other member of Congress that's ever dealt with ended up having to pay a civil fine, restitution to their campaign, and be scorned and shamed in front of the entire country. I went to federal prison for it because the investment that the NRCC, the National Congressional Republican Committee, made into my campaign for ads, polling, and mailers that I never saw the color of day of money, they said it was done under false pretenses, even though the purpose of that money was to win a campaign, and I did. So that's the Biden DOJ for you. They weaponized even political strategy into a congressional campaign.
So much more to talk about. We don't have any time really left. Congressman Santos, if you don't mind, though, who was feeding that parrot while you were gone?
Well, that is a macaw. And my partner, Matt, has been very diligently taking care of all of our animals. We have two macaws. That's just Chico back there. And we have our dogs, and he did a great job. I'm very lucky for the partner I have, my friends, my family, and my amazing legal team, Joe Murray, Andrew Mencia, and Robert Fantone. They did a great job. Thank you.
And real quick, what next? What is your career? What do you see? If you can boil that down to 10 seconds, I'd love it.
Prison reform to give people a better chance at a second chance, and also to take care and help troubled youth so they don't end up in prison. That's the mission for my life moving forward.
Beautiful. George Santos. It's very exciting, and I'm happy for you, sir. The former New York Congressman, you bet. And the future, who knows what? I have a feeling it's very bright.
Not Congressman.
Okay, that's done. The Senate, who knows? Don't never say never. We'll be right back.
What? Not for now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take it easy.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.